So here we are in the pulmonary vein, and what I sort of designed this to be is the teacher needs to sort of fly ahead and activate a little switch up here, which it basically starts the heart pumping. Because right now, well, let me actually go a little slower. Here is the pulmonary vein, and we get in there from the lungs. This is the other lung, right? This is the right lung, I believe. Yep, the left lung. We go in here, and we're here in the left atrium of the heart. And the teacher is probably gonna come here, fly up here, and push this button, which causes the valves to go, which is really cool. This is also something I'm pretty proud of, is making the valves. And so this is I think it's pronounced mitral valve. I think it's mitral. If I were to just read it, I'd say mitral. But if it's mitral, that's totally fine. I'm not a biologist or a doctor or anything. So, yeah. So anyway, so here we are, and the students now have to sort of jump through here, time it right, and get into the left ventricle. Now, cool thing is, because there's a hole right there, if you miss, you lose just like half a heart. So it's no big deal. You could potentially die if you just stayed in here, but you wouldn't. Then this is the aortic valve, right? Now you can just hang around in here in the left ventricle, but you're supposed to keep going. So yeah, so basically this is the next one, right? You jump through here. I didn't make it. But that's the idea. I'm going to go switch off the switches because you can see that it's causing some lag. Oops, switch modes. And that's really only because I'm recording. It doesn't usually cause that much lag. I mean, obviously it depends on your computer, but I think it should be fine for most people. So I'm just going to, through here is the aorta, but for now I'm going to actually jump up and show you how this all works. So here we are. Oops, I teleported up to here because it's right above. So here's what it is. This is the left atrium. This is the left ventricle, that thing over there. So you're in the atrium, you push the switch, and it sends a pulse to this T flip-flop, which then unpowers this torch, which then causes the torch to turn on, and allows this clock to start working. If you've never seen this design before for a clock, this is your basic piston clock. There are a few tutorials out there to show you how it works. But basically, you have a system where if this torch were lit, if this torch down here were lit, it would power this gold block. It would power this gold block, which then would send its redstone to this repeater, which would shoot it around here, and then it would shoot it up that way, and it would also shoot it down this way, which would go back into the piston, which would then push the block over to here. And then the same thing would basically happen. The power would go around that way again, and then around this way again, and push it over to here, around this way, and back, and then it just cycles like that. So that's a clock. And the good thing is that it doesn't involve any torches going on and off. It just involves repeaters going on and off. And repeaters don't burn out, but torches do. So you won't have any burnout, at least in this system. If you hook this up to a torch, then you might. But it all depends on how often you're flashing on and off. So anyway, as I said before, when this block gets powered, it splits the signal over to here. And this is what powers our pistons. So if we go down here, we can see we got basically a bunch of splits going on where there's some pistons here and here and here, and this basically makes the valve. So you have to make sure to time it so that they all fire at the same time, but that's not that hard to do. Just figure out with the repeater ticks. And this is the same thing for the aortic valve down here. And this, all these structures were really made out of just your basic building blocks of spheres and cylinders and things. I also sometimes do a lot of 3D animation with a a program called Cinema 4D, and one of the first things you learn when you start working with a 3D application is to make things out of what are called primitives, which are basically like really simple objects like spheres and rectangle and cubes and things, and you can like combine those in different ways to make more complex objects. So that's what I've sort of done here, is made more complex objects by combining and splicing together spheres. Just grabbing some water here. So that's basically the workflow. And I might do a video later if you want to show you sort of how I go about that, because it can get a little bit messy when working with one material and trying to combine things and knowing what you have to destroy and what you have to keep. And so I might do a little tutorial later or something like that if I have the time to do that. So I just want to show you really quick. I don't know if you've noticed, but throughout this entire thing, I've tried hard to conceal the glowstone. This yellow stuff is how glowstone looks in my texture pack. In Isabella is my texture pack, and I've done my best to conceal it, and so that it doesn't really mess with your immersion, sort of. But you know, it's all these little holes are all just lights. So for those of you guys making adventure maps out there, this is kind of one way to light your thing, especially if it's like in a cave or like I'm doing in a body or a building, where it still sort of allows you to sort of be immersed in the world without having to see, you know, glowstone here. There are some places like over here where you can just barely see the glowstone, which is, you know, that's not so bad. But just so you guys know, that's what those holes are, and that's what's lighting the area. So here we are into the aorta. Welcome to the aorta, dun dun dun. And we basically go up here. There's a ladder here, and I wanted to make it kind of challenging, so it's not just a straight up ladder. You have to kind of go and climb both things. This might seem challenging for your students, and if they spend a lot of time falling off, then there's a surefire way to not fall off. So let me explain that to you real quick. A lot of people think with these kinds of things that you got to jump up and then quickly switch, right? And then that's when they usually fail. The trick with this, there are a couple things you can do. You can try holding shift, right, as you go up. And when you hold shift on a ladder, right, you can see I'm crouching. When you hold shift on a ladder, it stops you from going down the ladder. So you can hold shift and then go up and then try to move sideways, but you know, you might miss the ladder. The way that I've been doing it is just going up and just keep pressing up, and sort of you get to this sort of place where you're kind of like jumping on top of the ladder. You're not really on top of the ladder because they've removed the hitbox from the ladder, but you're in this area where you can then switch ladders. So just keep pressing up and up and up, and then turn slightly, and then go up and up and up and up and up, and then you're up. So that's in case your students have trouble. That's sort of the answer book to that, if you will. This is an area. This is the aortic arch right here. I wanted to go up to the brain before going down the aortic arch, so I put this glass here. You can feel free to remove the glass and just put border blocks underneath, so that they can only go this way, if you want. I mean, I think the glass doesn't look great, so I don't know. I might do something else here, but basically the idea is that we're going to go up the right carotid artery and then go into the brain and then go down to the left carotid artery, which is going to come out somewhere over there. Or maybe I'll make a different aortic arch and it'll look as if it's coming out over there. I don't know. We'll see. This up here is the Brachiocephalic Artery. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But this is that tiny little artery that comes out of the heart that then splits off into the carotid artery and the subclavian artery, the right subclavian artery. So if we go up here, same laddery thing going on. This way is the right subclavian artery. Now, unless the students can fly, they can't actually go up this way because, I mean, there's nothing really over there for us to explore in this map, unless he had like a broken bone or something, which I don't know. but they can, sort of jump around, and it looks as if there's something over there. I put a bunch of glowstone here to make it look as if there's still more stuff over there, but there's really nothing. It's a dead end. So anyway, once the split happens, now we're really in the carotid artery. The right common carotid artery. I fell off. So we can go up this ladder here. You can see some glowstone up there, so I might want to fix that later. Probably not. I probably won't fix it just because it's not that big a deal. But anyway, here we are now in the right common carotid artery. And we walk through the artery and up, and into the skull. So this is the skull, and this is sort of where I stopped. I finished lighting this, and then I kind of stopped. The brain is going to go here. And what I want to do, well, I have an idea of what to do, is sort of maybe be able to go and touch a certain area of the brain and warp to like a sense. You know what I mean? Like, for example, what I want to do is have the brain there and color code all the lobes and things, and then maybe put warp signs or teleport blocks on the places where you can maybe like warp to the ear, right? And you can have, the cochlea, big spirally cochlea, and an eardrum, and they can sort of explore that. Maybe do something with note blocks there, maybe like a mini game with note blocks there. And throughout this whole thing, you can put those teacher information blocks, so they can actually be learning. This is the aorta. This carries, oxygenated blood out of the heart, or this is the left ventricle. This is where the blood gets oxygenated, or whatever, or something like that. Or this is where oxygenated blood comes in the heart. I don't know exactly what they all do, because I'm not a biologist or a biology teacher. I'm trying to remember from my sophomore year of high school. But anyway, so maybe do that with the brain, and then go and maybe do something maybe with the nose and the eyes, and we were already in the mouth, so that's no big deal. And there's not really a lot to do with taste and touch in this, in terms of the five senses in this map. I mean, that whole idea of the taste being different regions of your tongue, I think that whole thing, where like the back is bitter, the front is sweet, and then there's sour and salty or whatever. I think that whole thing got debunked a few years ago. So I don't think that's actually the case with the tongue. So I don't think I'd do anything like that. And as far as feeling goes, there's not a lot you can do with that either. At least not that I can see. I mean, feel free to, come up with great ideas. That's, I encourage that. But I think for the way that this map is going to work, I don't think I need it to happen. So what I also might do is, once I update to 1.2, I might make the brain with lamps and stick a redstone clock in there, and then make the brain kind of light up like with signals or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But basically, what's the plan? What the plan is next is, I think, to go down here, where would be the left common carotid artery, and go down back into the aortic arch and down into maybe the circulatory system. So actually, not the circulatory system, the digestive system. So I'm just going to go up to the top here. Ka-ching! So yeah, that's basically what I've got. This whole video looks like it's about, oh dear, this is becoming quite long. I think I started around 4:40, so 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. We're about 35 minutes in, so I'm going to try to wrap it up soon. But yeah, this is the idea, and Pokeball in the distance. But I guess I can split this up into two parts again. When you're watching this will probably be part 2. So let me find, let me just go over back here. Jump. You can see I've been turning trees into different things and stuff with WorldEdit, just experimenting. So I want to show you that mechanism I was telling you about before, really quickly, and then I'll wrap it up. But this is one way that I want, because I'm thinking, well, how does it end? How does the map end? And they need to leave the body somehow, and there are only so many ways you can leave the body. and many of which are somewhat crude in design, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to think of a way that might not be so, disgusting. I don't want them to necessarily get pooped out in the end. That might not be, exit the body rectally. I'm sure the kids will get a laugh out of it if that were the case, but I think if this is actually, gonna be used in schools, which I hope there's someone out there who wants to see this finished. This is just a sort of a prototype right now. It's sort of a proof of concept with some of the mechanisms and things. But I could totally see developing that into a full-fledged adventure map. So that's sort of the hope with it, is to get it done and maybe have some people use it. I don't know. I don't know what people's curricula are like, and I don't know how in-depth one would need to go. I've been trying to, like I said before, balance it out between, between realism and still, not being so detailed that it's too much information, especially if your kids are sort of in that, grades like, 6 through 8 kind of grades, like, if they're like 11 through 13 years old, then you won't need an excessive amount of information for something like that. You would just sort of need to cover the not really, this maybe a bit more than the basics, you know what I mean? The basics might be, where you're like in 3rd grade and you're learning this is the esophagus, this is the stomach, and, maybe a bit more than that. But generally, I think, hopefully it doesn't need to be too detailed. But feel free to let me know, please, if you ever feel like PMing me with a, an idea of what your syllabus or your curriculum looks like, and maybe I can throw some ideas around. That might be cool. So anyway, what I've built is a sneezing system, because I figure that's another way you can exit the body. And what I'm just going to do is grab some TNT, and I'll explain what everything here does in a second. And stone, nope, bedrock. Okay, daytime, please. Awesome. So basically, the idea is that you go in this minecart, you fly down, you flip a switch, and you come out somewhere. This is sort of the exit. This is just sort of a proof of concept thing. This isn't the actual what's going to be used, but this is something like this. And I have a bunch of dispensers full of slime balls. And this is sort of the snot, or the bogies, as the British say, that come out with the with the sneeze. So I think the way the human body works, if it's gonna put something out of the body, it's going to be something that's probably unpleasant that you wouldn't want in the body. So I'm not sure if there's a great way of exiting the body through a natural system that that is not at least a little bit gross. But I think this is kind of all in good fun and stuff. So it's not so bad. So basically, the idea I had was that the students might get in minecarts or something. And then you'd press a button, and the TNT I've timed to go off sort of when you exit, so it sounds like a big explosion of sneeze. So here's what happens. Boom! Right, and so, it just exploded, and there's a whole bunch of slime balls everywhere, and there's sneeze all over the place, and horrible. Look at all this sneeze I got going. Oh, look at all that. That's horrible. Oh. It's all it's everywhere. It's just, God, it's everywhere. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just an idea. I think it's kind of cool. It needs a little work, obviously. Yeah, so that's the idea. So let me just remove all these entities here. I think that's pretty much what I have going. So just sort of an update, if you will. And please let me know if you have any ideas to improve any of the things that I've shown you, or if you have any questions about any of the things that I've shown you, or even if it has nothing to do with the things that I've shown you. Even if it's like, well, what did you say about 3D animation or something, or some random thing I said, or just anything you feel like asking or commenting on, please let me know. And yeah, so cool, great, awesome. Well, I think I'm going to end it here, and that was about 40 minutes. So I might do two 20-minute videos, or I might just stick it all in one video. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So thanks, guys. See ya.